a very online show that was running opposite College Game Day on Saturday morning, which was Big Noon Kickoff. Of course, it always has, but it was much more focused on this time around because Barstool founder, owner, and star Dave Portnoy made his debut on Fox's Big Noon Kickoff from Columbus also. And I think a similar question is where we kind of have to start here, Ben, which is like how they did this, how they executed it, similar to saying goodbye to Corso and having to do it with not a lot of Corso. They deployed Portnoy. I found myself feeling like it was maybe more than I expected of him on air, but also every time he was on air, it felt a little awkward and forced. Like, so maybe those actually point in the same direction, and less of him and more strategic deployment of him is where this will go. But by the end of the show, and you wrote like kind of a recap review of this whole thing for awfulannouncing.com, but by the end of the show, I was like, this again? Like, it was the same act each time he came on camera. Maybe that changes when he's not the villain at Ohio Stadium doing the Michigan shtick, but I can't help but feel like they had a while to prepare for this, and it felt very one note on Saturday.
Yeah, it's interesting because he got added to the show, and there was this idea like, okay, he is just like a cast member now. Like he's going to be sitting there next to Urban Meyer and Brady Quinn and Matt Leinart and Rob Stone, like all season long, like on the main desk. And as we got closer, Portnoy said something to the effect of like, I really don't know what my role on this show is going to be. And I think the media is blowing it a little out of proportion. Chris Felica said something similar. And then by the time we got to all the drama about the stadium, obviously like it became clear, like, oh, like he's not in a starring role per se. He is going to be additive, but he is not going to be a part of the cast. I probably had a more favorable review of it. I enjoyed his presence on it. And frankly, it was just like a reason to watch Big Noon Kickoff, which is not a show that I have spent a lot of time watching, really since 2019 when it first launched. Like, I'll pop in here and there, and they are at Ohio State a good amount of times. But even then, like, they just, we talked about this with Chris Vanini on a past episode. Like, they basically just became a Big Ten propaganda show meant to amplify whichever game they were covering, as opposed to a full-on college football pregame show. So I thought
so gimmicky, like bringing Pochettino and Alexi Lawless on, having the Wendy's stuff at the deck. It's just like, come on, don't make it 3 hours if you don't have 3 hours of content.
Yeah, the soccer cross promotion, like all the cross promotion, just feels very forced, and always feels like you would never see Big Noon Kickoff doing, or not Big Noon. You never see, maybe, like, I don't know. Are we going to see, I guess we do see WWE guys on game day sometimes, but it's like, it's not just so,
but
like,
they're doing something. They're not just there to talk about the WWE.
Yeah, you're right.
It was rough, but yeah, back to Portnoy. So you thought it worked, but my question is, how does it work when it's not at Ohio State and he doesn't get banned from the stadium and he has to just like be additive to a regular old week 7 kind of shitty matchup pregame show?
Yeah. So I agree with you actually about the whole Ohio State thing. That's like kind of the other part of this is I enjoyed the act early on. And by the end, it's just like, okay, like, it's just, you go, like, the fans are booing you this whole time. It's overpowering your segment. Like, how sustainable is this going to be? And I think the other part of that is that reaction is not going to change in Columbus anytime. Like, that's every time Portnoy is on screen, they are just going to boo him mercilessly. And they are in Columbus for, like, I would venture to guess, like 50 to 60% of the season. Like, it's not like they just go to Columbus twice a year. Like, they go to Columbus a lot. Like, they'll go to Columbus for like Ohio State versus Marshall. So they'll have to figure that out, because I don't think that is sustainable. And maybe it's those weeks they're in Columbus, they narrow it down to, okay, Portnoy's only going to do like 1 or 2 hits, and then we're just going to kind of get this out of the way. So I don't know. I don't know if they thought that one through.
Not to mention that if this whole ban silliness continues. Like, he can't be there for the last bit if they choose to go on to the field and as normal. And like, there was the booing. Like, you're right, it sounds ridiculous because he was kind of playing it up on his own, but at the same time, like, there was a moment where I think it was the LSU Clemson game that they were talking about, and you could tell he had actually done like a fair bit of prep and research on it and had a point to make. And then they were actually booing so loud that he couldn't even get it out. And then I think Brady Quinn or Urban had to kind of interject and address the awkwardness that it was like literally so loud so as to make it kind of bad content. It's just it's like it's not, you know, SummerSlam. So
Mhm.
it has to be a pregame show still. And that's where I wonder. It's not even an anti-Portnoy thing. Like, that's why I highlight that moment is I think he has been in this industry long enough and knows what he's doing to be able to deliver actual commentary. But them trying to work him into that, I think, is going to kind of be the effort of making it work long term. I also just, I mean, not to beat a dead horse, but like, that show is both needing another shakeup on the main desk, in my
Mhm.
opinion, and also just the talent that's there, separate from whatever I might think of them, is not the perfect group to have Dave Portnoy
No.
join up with. Like, and that's another problem here is like Brady Quinn can't get past the silliness quick enough to make his next point that he's excited to you know, elucidate on. And Urban Meyer just is so still awkward and kind of like all the worst things about Jimmy Johnson on TV, or whatever you want to say, like that it just it feels like the show's at odds with itself. That was what I kept thinking.
Yeah, and it feels like there should be some chemistry there with like Meyer, but like, you know, just having covered him and you know, being an Ohio State fan now, he takes himself so seriously, and he takes the rivalry stuff so seriously, and his perception within the rival that like I don't think he'll ever you're never gonna get McAfee and Saban between Portnoy and Urban. Like, you're just not for a variety of reasons. But it wasn't even just Urban. Like, I think that's something they could try to build on is Urban and Portnoy interacting. But I
The
don't
the
think
jersey thing was funny, when he
yeah,
said like, "Oh, I have a new house, I can use it for toilet paper," or
yeah.
whatever. Like, that is kind of the moment you're trying to gin up when you do a little gag like that, but then it's sort of like, yeah, and like, yeah, McAfee is just a unicorn, and I think Saban is just more down for those things, and it's also they had an existing relationship. Like, it's not one to one, and maybe that will get better over the course of the season, but it just felt like two different shows.
Yeah. Well, and it wasn't just Urban either. Like, there was a moment where Portnoy, I think, took a jab at the USC defense, and like Matt Leinart got all bent out of shape about it, like legitimately
Mhm.
upset. It's like, all right, like what
Mark
show are we
Ingram
doing?
tried to rub Portnoy's head at one point. It kind of like legit got tense for a moment because it
Yeah.
was just like, I'm on TV. Why are you why are you making me look ridiculous? I don't know. There
Well,
was
I
a
think
lot of strange little moments like that where you're like, is everyone on the same page and like want to be doing this?
yeah, and I think you called it out in our Slack channel. Like, the only person who seemed to in on it was Rob Stone. Like, Rob Stone was the
Mhm.
only one who was really selling for Portnoy. But I mean, I think there's something there. I actually thought I think that when he first interacts with the crew, like I think that's obviously a moment, him making his entrance. And then I thought, you know, they tried to pair him with Chris Felica. They tried to I can't remember if they did another segment with another one of the cast members, but I actually thought on his own was when he was at his best. And I think they're going to Iowa State next week. I'll be interested to see what that looks like, because I obviously that's going to be a little more of a neutral audience for Portnoy, and I'm interested to see if like there's like a big, like, you know, barstool type of following there, or if this continue, and if so, how that further evolves the show.
I guess it'll eventually kind of be a question of like, does the Portnoy stuff work well enough in Fox's eyes, you know,
Mhm.
online, and in the live environment and bringing the best out of some of the other talent in certain ways, that do they cater the show more to him over time, and maybe away from the Ingram, Quinn, Liner group? I mean, I think a lot of average college football fans would probably be bothered by that, but you don't bring Portnoy in and then, give up or say, oh, well, he didn't work with what we were doing. You're shaking it
Mhm.
up for a reason. So how far are you willing to keep that shakeup going, I guess, will be the ultimate question.